Everyone. I just wanted to make a quick video exploring some of the tools that I have been using on quarantine and self-isolation that have been helping me to use this time in an interesting way, that have been helping me to use this time in a way that I'm not going to look back on it and say I didn't learn anything or I didn't use it, in a productive way or didn't use it in a way that somehow furthered my understanding of self. And I just wanted to share a little bit of my perspective on the tools I've been using, the nature of them, why, and maybe a little background on their deeper meaning, just so that if you either have never heard of these practices or never experimented with these practices but are interested in discovering tools and techniques that may be helpful for your own self-understanding, this video may be informative. I will just say quickly before I get into it that this is just an introduction to some of the tools that I've personally been exploring over the last few weeks. But this is not exhaustive, and if you're interested in doing any of these things and you never done them before, I definitely recommend you go deeper into researching the practice and educating yourself before just diving in, because there are side effects and some small dangers associated with some of them more than others. So, with that being said, let's get into it. First, starting with breath work. Breath work is something that I've been exploring from the perspective of both thinkers like Stan Grof, who has pioneered holotropic breath work. I recommend checking that out. Or, for example, the very popular Wim Hof breathing techniques. There are other breathing techniques that have been used throughout history and have been sort of essential in helping humans connect consciousness to their breath. And that's the essential dimension of breath work, is that most of our breathing is unconscious. And if you think about consciousness in a body, breathing and the breathing process is so fundamental. It's the most primal in and out relationship that consciousness has with the body and the world. And most of the time it's unconscious. So what happens when you're doing breath work is the connecting of consciousness to the breath allows many experiences and stored emotions in the body come to the surface of consciousness. This can be experienced as extremely emotionally traumatic. There can be crying, there can be emotional outbursts. However, there can also be very positive euphoric states of consciousness, joy and laughing, uncontrollable states of laughing that emerge when you explore breath work. I think that in my experience, the most powerful aspect of breath work is the way in which I'm able to feel my own body energy. I usually feel like my hands are surging with electricity. I usually feel very light. I usually feel almost rejuvenated, like, I don't know how to describe it, like being born for the first time or waking up for the first time. I just feel fresh. I just feel new. So I think that that's somehow related to either the release or the reconciliation of my conscious self with the emotional body. The body needs to speak, and the body needs to be heard. Basically, we need to listen to our body, and breath work is a great way to connect with that dimension of ourself. So I highly recommend that, and it's been an interesting aspect of the last few weeks for me to get in touch with the breath. As some of you know, I've also been leading a meditation challenge, and meditation has been a part of my life now for on and off for a few years, but increasingly so. It's something that the more I practice it, the more it's like building a muscle. It's more like working out at the gym. The more you work out, the less sore your muscles are after you work out. And meditation for me, the more I practice it, the easier it is for me to sit in quiet and peace with myself, and just to basically disconnect from the thoughts and the images running through my mind. Although there are many different types of meditation practice, the most common meditation practice and kind of the pillar upon which different meditation practices can be explored is basically silence with oneself. and just simply bringing conscious awareness and attention to the present moment. When you do that, what happens is that there's a gap or a distance between you and the thoughts and the words and the images which we're usually overly identified with, as we usually identify or over-identify with this aspect of who we are. But with meditation, you can understand how to consciously identify not just with other aspects of the body, but also to realize that there is a gap between you as an observer and even your body itself. So this is usually referred to as the no self, or even the state of nirvana, as like a peaceful stillness. It's not going to solve all of your problems, obviously. It's not a ultimate metaphysical or ultimate ontological reality that you reach, in my view, but it is a place, like a sanctuary you can go when you are feeling too much tension, too much stress, and you just need to be in the peace and the silence with the self. It's a great tool to explore. The third tool I want to communicate to you is cold and hot water immersion. Cold and hot water immersion is also a technique that is like breathwork and meditation. Ancient humans have been exploring it for a long time. If you've ever been in a very hot sauna, or if you've ever been in a very cold ice bath, these are some of the aspects of cold and hot water immersion. For me, I just do it when I wake up in the morning. I take a ice cold shower. And usually that is even more effective than having a coffee. My whole body's awake, my whole body's alive. Any grogginess is gone, and it just really shocks me into the day. I can say anecdotally that since I've been doing this for over a year now, I haven't gotten a flu. I know that's anecdotal, but there is scientific evidence to support that specifically cold water immersion is something that can improve your immune system and help fight infections and disease. But the most experiential dimension of this for me is just that the shock and the extreme uncomfort that you feel while immersing yourself in the cold or the extreme hot is something that just makes you more alert in general to the nature of your body. And I think in some ways just makes your body more active and more alive in some sense, at least mine. That's my general experience. And also it has been an interesting way for me to explore the mind-body relation, because when you're in the extreme cold or the extreme hot, and you go into like a meditative trance, you can also get this sort of distinction between the observer and the body, where you realize a lot of the agitation and a lot of the negativity one can feel upon the shock of the cold or the hot is merely the way in which you're identifying with the body. So that's another interesting dimension to explore. I highly recommend. The fourth tool I want to explore with you is lucid dreaming. I'm the most novice with this out of all the tools I'm talking to you about, simply because I feel there are two levels of lucid dreaming, and I struggle most with one of them. The first level of lucid dreaming is first becoming lucid in the dream, which just means becoming aware that you're dreaming while you're dreaming. And the second level is being able to hold the dream while you're lucid. Oftentimes in the step from becoming lucid in the dream to holding the dream while you're lucid is extremely difficult, and oftentimes I'll just snap awake, like I'll just wake up, almost out of like a reflexive shock. However, if you've never done lucid dreaming yourself, all it is becoming conscious of your dream state and being able to control the images of your dream, and you can basically explore your desire however you want to explore your desire in the dream state. The best way to sort of start lucid dreaming is to keep a dream journal when you wake up, and also to set conscious intentions before you go to sleep that you would like to lucid dream. It can be coupled with a meditation before you go to sleep. And then another little trick that I have picked up is that if you throughout your day ask yourself whether or not you're dreaming, am I dreaming right now? This will become an unconscious habit that you pick up, and you'll start to ask yourself this question while you're dreaming, and that gives you an opportunity to recognize that you're dreaming and become lucid. Another way is to set a little tiny or subtle alarm, not an alarm loud enough to wake you up, but an alarm loud enough so that you might pick up on it while you're dreaming. And this might invade your dream and be a cue that you are, in fact, in a dream state, and you could become lucid by this mechanism as well. Really worth looking into, really exciting, and of course, a huge aspect of experiencing an emancipatory, free state, an unconstrained state of consciousness. The fifth tool I want to share with you is fasting. In some sense, 2019 for me was a year of fasting. I basically did like a 24-hour fast almost every day, and I've done some more extreme fasts that have lasted 3, 4, 5 days, including water and dry fasts. All it is a consciously mediated absence from food and water, and like breathing, food and water are a primal input and output for consciousness relationship to the body. And so that is another way in which you can really, really explore emotions that have been stored or bottled in yourself and haven't been explored, because food is oftentimes, in my view, not a way in which we satisfy our hunger, but in a way in which we satisfy our emotions and our mind's relationship struggling with being in a body. So when you fast, you definitely change the relationship between your mind and your body, and also you get to explore an interesting type of joy, not a joy from eating food, but a joy from being in a state of lack, or a joy that comes from being in a state of hunger and thirst. So in that sense, it is an opportunity to experience something you may have never experienced, or to change your perspective on something we all experience, which is hunger from time to time. And on another level, one thing fasting allows you to do is not just go deeper into meditative states or other forms of spiritual exploration, but it allows you to redefine your relationship to food and water. If you're someone who struggles with portion control, or someone who struggles with certain attachments to food, fasting might be a good way to explore the underlying emotional needs that are at work in these attachments. And then finally, psychedelics. As most of you know, I've explored psychedelics, and I've got quite a bit of experience now, specifically with ayahuasca and psilocybin. All psychedelics are different substances which manifest altered states of consciousness. Some people call them entheogens, or generating the divine within. The most common or basic experience that people have on psychedelics is a dissolution of duality, self-world distinction, and also a dissolution of space and time as meaningful categories to represent our experience. What replaces duality in space-time is a type of sacred otherness in some sense. In the highest states of the psychedelic state, it's certainly a type of sacred otherness, a type of transcendental oneness or connectivity with everything. You might call it the oceanic feeling, or as it has been called, the oceanic feeling quite often. But there are also other dimensions of the experience, which can be in reliving old childhood memories, experiencing even things that have happened in history and evolutionary processes. There are definitely encounters with states of mind that defy description at all. So it is, in some sense, when one first encounters these phenomena, something that becomes very spiritually meaningful, simply because a lot of people have either not aware that these states of mind exist, or it's hard to imagine them until you've experienced them yourself. And there is clinical evidence that it improves overall existential attitude, can help people deal with death anxiety, can help people deal with depression, can help people deal with addiction and other substance abuse issues. And in general, it creates a more creative and open mind, simply because it is literally transforming your normal brain states. The normal brain state, which manifests in our day-to-day consciousness, is radically reorganized, which is in part an explanation for why we experience such strange states of consciousness on psychedelic substances. So that's an overview of some of the things I've been exploring to get a deeper understanding of myself. I, again, just wanted to share that with you because you might feel disempowered or you might feel unmotivated in the situation we're in. Collectively, we can, of course, feel a certain impotence politically, socially, economically, feeling like a situation's out of our control, struggling with interpreting the situation. But these might be some helpful tools that you can use to focus on things you can control and to focus on aspects of yourself that you can explore. So I hope that's helpful, and I'll see you in the next video.